Today is May 19th, 1998. This is an interview with Elias Friedman, and the interviewer is Lenore Bienenfeld-Weinstein. The interview takes place in Orlando, Florida, in the United States, and the language is English. This is the first tape. My name is Lenore Bienenfeld-Weinstein. Today's date is May 19th, 1998. I am conducting an interview with Elias Friedman, and the interview takes place in Orlando, Florida, in the United States, and the language is English. Can you please tell me your name?
My name right now, Elias Friedman. Originally, my name before when I came to the United States was Elias Hirsch Friedman, and Hebrew Eliyahu Tzvi Friedman.
Can you spell your name for me?
Yeah. Eliasfriedman. Originally was two N's on the end, and it was Hirsch, Hirsh.
Did anybody give you any other names or nicknames?
Well, no, after a while, somehow they said the name is too long to drop my second name, and they said Friedman is spelled with only one end, and this is how they registered me in the first papers, and then in my citizenship papers.
What is your date of birth?
February 20, 1919.
And how old does that make you today?
79 years old, besonders 20.
What city were you born in?
I was born in Krakow, Poland.
What were your parents' names?
My parents' name, my mother, because ladies come always first, especially the mother, was Esther Leah Friedman, Nee Rappaport. My father's name was Wolf Friedman, and his Hebrew name was Zeph Friedman.
Where was your mother's family from?
They lived in Krakow, or my grandfather and grandmother. I think my mother was born in Krakow. They come from Likive. It was a small little town, Wukov in Polish, and Likive in Yiddish, and he was a rabbi over there.
Did you know your grandfather?
No, unfortunately, he died. And he was a very famous person. Even before he came to Krakow, then he became the Rosh Bezdin Kroker, and he had the final say, not only about any dispute was all over Poland, he had the final say. And he wrote a lot of books and, about Chumash, translation, other things. Was unfortunately all the books got lost.
What was his name?
The name was Rav Meir Rappaport. And he came from a very, very famous family because his whole background, his ninth generation to Shach and Ramon.
Where was your father's family from?
My father's family originally come from Bielichka. My father was born, my father was born in Bielichka, or I was already born in Krakow. My father's family came back to, all the way back to Napoleon's time, when I don't remember exactly, when Napoleon was invited Russia, he was in Poland, And he gave the Jewish people more freedom than the Polish people. He promised them a land, whatever it is. And people were able to work in the profession what they have and to travel. When Napoleon was losing the war, people have to go back to ghetto. And my grandfather, Rabbi Abraham Friedman, was first in ghetto in Warsaw, and he didn't like it there. He couldn't make a living. So he went to ghetto to Krakow. Or was the same thing. Or he was very, even he was Orthodox, religious, forget about religious, okay? He was a good business person, and he had the courage to go outside the ghetto, and he went on to a small city called Bieliczka. Bieliczka have a salt mine, the biggest salt mine at this time in Europe. I'm going back so many years back. Salt was like gold today. It belonged to the king. The salt mine didn't belong to private people. It was run, of course, but only by Polish people. No Jewish person was employed there, and no Jewish person could live in Bieliczka. So he decided, he went to the manager or the director. He said, look, you need a lot material over here. When you make the tunnels, you need wood for beams, and you need sheet metal in order not the country should collapse or the earth should collapse for the tunnels. I can deliver this. And after somehow I say in Hebrew, in his eyes, he have a nice personality. So the director said, okay, I give you a chance. And he started little by little with some delivery of material to the salt mine. And he didn't charge less than his competition. He charged maybe sometime more. Somehow his delivery was prompt, and he was very honest in his business, because even without contract, without anything, when he said one word, this is the price, even the price went up, he still delivered the prices what he honored, the prices what he promised. So little by little he was getting more influential in the business and also prospered. After this, he have a son, Eliyahu Tzvi Friedman, which I am his name after my grandfather. And he have few children, they were girls, and by the way, he had permission to live in Bieliczka. In the beginning he used to travel back and forth, and then he had a special permit to live there. And while he was living there, years passed by, he formed a small Jewish community. He built a shul, he built stores, all kinds of kosher food, and they didn't disturb him because he was very influential with the director and other management, and they really honor him. Otherwise, they give him cover because of the person what he was. When the Eliyahu Tzvi Friedman became 16 years old, and at this time, people were getting married very young. So my grand-grandfather had a shidduch for him, and he married some girl or lady from Krakow. And she was Rachel Hirfeld from home. And her father was very influential, and he also well-to-do, lived a business in Krakow. So always some was a dispute in the family where the young couple should live. My grandmother wanted to live, the kids should live in Velishka. My other pe- uh, family parents from the Rachel Rojo, she should live in Krakow, and they offered him a job in his business, which was going very well and well-to-do. He could make a nice living there. So it was a dispute. So it happened so, every year the Rabbi Friedman invite a Rebbe. The Rebbes used to travel all over Poland, and this time a Rebbe was a Geber, was like a psychologist or psychiatrist today, and he was giving advice in any field, because they have so many experience, so many people when they talk. So they was quite smart, besides being religious and so forth. So the Rebbe said to my grandfather, Abraham Friedman, you keep him here, you set him up in a little business. I mean, you on his own, not he shouldn't be working for you on his own. And he set him up in a little lumberyard business. And they decided, they lived there, and they have a little house, which they built. And he also started delivering to the salt mine to start. His father gave him a chance, and he was only delivering different materials, not wood. And his business was prospering. All of a sudden, a year later, somebody else family married off his son, and they decided, so long Eliyahu Tzvi Friedman is prospering in his business, so he opened up all the lumberyard. And whatever they were selling, the prices, like today, competitions try to sell cheaper. He tried to get into the salt mine, given cheaper prices, or the people rather have my grandfather, because he was well established with him for so many few years already back. And so anyhow, because he was selling much cheaper, the business then start not going so good, and was start hardly making a living. So of course the family was very upset, and the family of Rachel Friedman, Rojo from Krakow, was also upset. They were talking to him, he should give it up, close the business, come to work for him. The rabbi came again, the Rebbe came again the once a year visit. We stayed there 1 week in my grandfather's home. And so my grandfather, Eliyahu Tzvi Friedman, said to him, look, in private, you talked me into this, Rebbe, and in the meantime, my business beginning was good, and I have a problem. So he told him what the problem was. So this Rebbe was a very smart person. He said, look, my dear son, no matter what you do in life, don't ever look on somebody else. What he's doing in competition, you must believe you're capable to survive, and you are the one who can build up your business. If you believe in this, you believe in yourself, and not try to compete with prices, only give people honor business, and so I'm sure you'll be very successful. So it was an encouragement, and he stayed in his business. as he stayed in his business, got a little bit older, he got a delivery all over Poland. You start delivering wood because wood was very precious. They were building homes and so forth. And little by little, he started growing up, and he decided to have a sawmill because this way he didn't have to give it up to somebody else to make the lumber or 2x4s or the beams. And happened so he built a little sawmill. Happened so the wood came from a forest which belonged to a prince of Polish prince. And he was buying the wood from the forest, the trees from him, I mean, was renting. And he could get all this what he wanted. Or he have to pay X amount of dollars to the prince. Happened so, he gave him, the prince died. And the children, they are well-to-do, and they don't want nothing to do with business and so forth. So they called Eliyahu Tzvi Friedman. He was there about 18 years old. And he said to me, look, all the forests here, we can rent it for you for 100 years or 50 years or a lump sum, because we're not interested to collect money every few months and so forth, and it's all yours. Well, this was a tremendous deal because usually lumber was very hard to get trees, and especially a Jewish person at this time was discriminated.
I'd like to skip 2 generations and ask you what your father did for a living.
Oh, okay. I'll come in a minute to my father. I'm talking about Eliyahu Tzvi Friedman, and that I will make it shorter. Okay. Now I want to bring it up. So my grandfather became very rich, and he built sawmills all over Poland because the delivery was a lot of money. Hungary, because at this time was Austrian, Kaiser from Austria, Franz Joseph. He was very good to Jewish people. And he had sawmills in Hungary and Romania, also because it was part of Austria. And he became very well-to-do. And then he built in Wielczka, but they lived there. People need flour for bread and bricks to build homes, so he built a brick mill factory, a sawmill factory, and a sawmill, brick, and flour mill. Okay, and of course my father started working for him. He has 2 more brothers, and after a while my grandfather died, and that's why I have his name. I never knew him. And my father took over the business. He was the oldest one, so he was the leader of the business. And 2 brothers, this time they didn't have all over because it was this before Second World War and the First World War. So they liquidate a lot of stuff all over, and they mostly was located in Wielczka. Now, my father was very gifted besides business. He went for architecture to school. At this time, a Jew couldn't be a full architect. So he decided, he said to his father, he liked to do things on his own, a little bit, like build houses in Krakow. Krakow was a small city. At this time, talking of the Jewish section, need a lot of homes, big homes, apartment homes. And he started building, this was before First World War I'm talking about, started building a lot of the homes. He needed an architect to sign on his blueprints. And so basically, this is what he did till the First World War. During the First World War, of course, the Jewish people have to run away, and I think he went to Hungary or Romania, and he was living there during the war, and the business was a war, and didn't function so good. I mean, so forth. And then after the war, they came back to live in Bielska, and he was again in this business, taking care of the business. So he gave up building because he didn't have time. So he and his two brothers ran the business.
Did your mother work at all?
No.
Were there other children in your family?
Besides me, yeah. I have 6 sisters and a brother who are 8 children altogether.
What are their names?
The name was, the oldest one was Ida or Ida, and she got married to very wonderful brother-in-law of mine, Heitler, Moshe Heitler. And they have 2 children, Rachel, after my grandmother, and Helen. Then the next person on the list was Salah. And Salah have 2 children also. She got married, and Sarah, she married Abraham Silverberg. And her children was Meir Silverberg and Rachel Silverberg, 2 children. After this was my brother, was Arya Friedman. And Arya Friedman married Frida Bester, and they have 1 child only, Tova Aran, her name is, because she married Alfred Aran, and they live in Israel. After this, we have Gustav Friedman, and then is Paula Friedman, then is Miriam Friedman. And Miriam Friedman, even was younger, she married, she fell in love with somebody, and his name was Affenkraut. He come from Germany, and parents at this time was liberal. Even she was younger, they let her get married, this young man. And they have 1 child, which was born during the war, Meyer Affenkraut. Then we have Gustav, and then this was Miriam, what I mentioned. And then we have Gustav Friedman in Mila Friedman. So this is 6 sisters what I have, and 1 brother.
What number were you among the brothers and sisters?
I was the youngest one. I was the Messianic, they call in Jewish.
Can you
There was a difference between my oldest, to give you an example, between my oldest sister was about 22 years, and my brother and me was about 19 years.
Can you tell me a little bit about your mother?
Yeah. Well, my mother came for, I think I mentioned, for family Rappaport, which was Liquor Roof and Rosh Bezin, very famous people, and she had 2 sisters.
I'd like you to describe what her personality
A
was
personality. Well, I can tell you, she was the best mother in the world a person can have. I was lucky to have parents like my mother and my father. And she devoted herself to me because I was the youngest one. The other children would grow up already, they was on own, and she spent a lot of time with me, educated me. So far, the upbringing, the foundation is the most important thing. And she teach me a lot in my life, because my father was in business, or still he was quite influential. And my mother was a very kind person, very friendly person, and she had a lot of friends beside the family, and she was wonderful.
Can you describe to me what your home was like?
My home, my father, even he was religious, I mean Orthodox, because at this time didn't exist ultra-Orthodox or something, which people were religious, okay, most of the people, because we have very little, we only have Mizrahi, which was also for younger people religious organization. Now the difference between Mizrahi and the people from my father's generation, they were already Zionists. Now what I want to bring out, we have a religious home and we have invite very hospitable home. Besides even Pesach, I'm talking about all year round, we always have guests for Shabbos. If somebody was out of town, my father invite him and from the synagogue, and they spend time there. And if somebody need help, because there's a poor guy and they need help, where he organized where he can stay while he's studying, and they get food. And the Shabbos, Friday and Saturday was the most wonderful time of my life and my family life.
We're coming to the end of the tape now.
Yeah, okay.
May 18th, 1998, and you're going to describe what Shabbos was like in your home growing up.
Well, Shabbos starts with Friday. We have Thursday night, we have live fish swimming around in a bathtub, you know, and then Friday morning, somebody have to kill the fish. So my mother couldn't do it, so my father decided he would help her. And then we have, thank God, we well to do. We have a cook, and we have a maid to clean. We have a gardener to take care of the garden, and we have a lot of servants. My mother loved to do all these things. You know, even she have a cook, she only helped part-time. She did work, even she was paying. We have a big house, and each person has his own room. I'm talking about the children, or the servant has a special little house. So my mother was preparing the fish and the baking and a lot of cake, which I like very much. And Friday afternoon, my father came home from business earlier, about lunchtime, and I went with him to the mikveh or the steam bath, because at this time we have already a modern home, which was unusual because my father built it. Already have a bathtub with hot water. Most of the people didn't have it. We have a gas, like we're using this gas hot water. This was his idea. It was introduced. I was still, according to the Jewish law, a minhag, a nice Friday you have to go to a mikveh or steam bath. And I used to go with him, and then afternoon we came home, and my father still would take a shower besides this, you know, because over there is a lot of people, and get dressed and went to the shul. Now the shul what we have was a family shul, and not far away, only a few blocks from our home, maybe 5 or 8 minutes walking time. And we live in a section what is Kazimierz, you call it, because was a Koenig from from Poland was Kazimierz Wielki, and he was very good to the Jewish people, because they brought a lot of business. They, import, export. They were gifted. So he gave them a section of Krakow. In the beginning, this was ghetto, and then later they opened this up. When we were there, of course, there was no ghetto. And most of the Jewish people lived in this section. So, because my grandfather was conducting his business as a Dayan, he had a whole floor by himself, which my father built the house before the First World War. And there was a very big room, so we make a shul over there for our family in France. So it was about Friday, we had about 40, 50 people there to services, and sometimes more, because our family was quite big, cousins and second cousins, and plus maybe 10 friends or people who live in the neighborhood of sometimes even 60 people. And my father loved to conduct some of the services. He had a beautiful voice, singing, and so Kabbalah Shabbat services we have. And after this, of course, I was going with him to shul, and we came back home. Well, back home we came, my mother prepared, at this time we didn't worry about cholesterol, we didn't worry about any other thing. We have a wonderful, wonderful Seder. And it was, besides all the food, and I don't want to go into detail, describe, was singing Zmiris, and was Labor Day in the house, and later on was a relaxing atmosphere, everybody could joke around a little bit, and so forth. And it was a beautiful evening. And went to sleep in the morning. I got up, went to shul again. And the shul was a beautiful thing because it was very informal. If you go to a big shul, you feel like one of the 100 or 500 people there, you don't know each other. Over there, everybody was friendly. And what I want to bring out was important. If somebody even was a little bit less religious like the other one, nobody got to insult him or ask him questions. Was freedom of praying or religion in the whole family. Otherwise, some people who have one cousin, he was an engineer, and he was working, he usually come on the high holidays, my mother's sister's son. Or somebody else come on occasionally. He got the same respect like anybody else. But my father taught me one thing. You judge the people by the character, how they behave. If they're good to the mention, they're good to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And this is important. Even the Gentile people, I never had anything because he was doing a lot of business with a lot of Gentile people. And they'll also honor him because, again, Tkiyas Kaf, at this time people didn't use lawyers and didn't write contracts. The Tkiyas Kaf, when he shakes somebody's hand, this was this. Even a year later, the price was up or whatever it is. And when he was going to the ministerium in Warsaw, all the doors was open for him.
Did you have your bar mitzvah at that shul?
Yeah, I have a bar mitzvah, of course. And my bar mitzvah was a family bar mitzvah and friends. And my father decided to have it on Thursday morning when we read the Torah because people shouldn't travel on Shabbos. And we rent a big hotel, which was the only hotel in Krakow. And we have a few hundred people. And of course, all what I did, get Aliyah, and I make a drosha. At this time, a drosha, I didn't talk about events, daily event, or you have to talk from Gemara and or Rashi or Toysavus, all these things. So it was about 20 minutes, and I have to remember the whole thing. I study, and I think I did a good job.
What kind of schooling did you have?
Yeah, Well, in Bielichka, I was going in the beginning, we lived in Bielichka, all to public school, and then we have a header of what my father hired somebody to a Rebbe to come to our home to give me education, private. And the school, I tell you, with all the Polish population, because it was a small city, I didn't feel, and we were well known and liked, I didn't feel any anti-Semitism. And I was fortunate enough to be driven to school with carrozza and two horses, because at this time was no cars. So everybody was envious, so I took some boys, all the delivered someplace else. So when we came to Krakow, just before my mitzvah, my father decided to move to Krakow because I could get better education. He used to travel still to Wieliczka every day. So my father will have a Talmud Torah and Yesod Torah. Talmud Torah was a school which for everybody, nobody was no discrimination. If you have money or no money, everybody, he was a founder, my father. And everybody could belong there, get a Jewish education. It was up to the 7th grade, and they still learn, even on this level, they did learn Gemara and Toysavitz as they were brought up, and very sophisticated the study. My father opened up also a private school, what was Yesod Torah, and this was private, this I was going to this school. And it was all very high, better education, we have better teachers because it was all private on the people who could afford it to pay.
It was a Jewish school?
It was a Hebrew Jewish school, and you have a day Hebrew and a day Polish, all mathematics and history, biology, and all different subjects on the same level like any Polish school. And was also full right because my father had connection. Otherwise, some schools you have to go at the end of the year for examination to pass to go to next grade. You go before Polish board, and this school have full rights.
Were you aware of Hitler's rise to power in Germany?
Pardon?
Were you aware of when Hitler came to power in Germany?
Well, at this time, 1933, I was still a young man, you know. And as I was growing up, we had a little bit my father's home politics, and especially after the Kristallnacht, when they start talking about what happened to the Jewish people. So we felt very, very sympathetic to the Jewish people, and we felt, my father said, I wish we can help them to do something. The whole world is silent, doesn't do anything. And actually, till 1938, when the shock came in, one night, they took all the Jewish people who were born in Poland, even they were German citizens, they put them on the train, and they sent them to across the Polish border. And because Krakow was a big city, Warsaw, Lodz, so many of them, they come to Krakow, and people, my father, we showed him also head of the Kehillah, which was organization for Jewish people who organized the rabbis and the money for them and things like that, support the schools and things like that. So he made sure all the Jewish people took a couple of people to their home. We took about 3, 4 people, and they were there for a few months. Thank God they were lucky. Some went to Australia, because they were German citizens. Even German didn't like him. So Polish quota was very bad. You couldn't get out from Poland or to America, or they got into Australia, and some of them went to England and so forth. So at this time, we knew what was going on, and we were fear shouldn't spread.
Before the war started, did you or your family suffer any incidents of anti-Semitism?
Well, I'll be honest with you, because I live in a Jewish section, so I have little exposure. My own exposure was when I was growing up in village car, and I love it because I was young, so we have friend, a Jewish, not Jewish friend, girls, and at this time, because it was a small city, we didn't understand what is different, and they didn't understand. It was a small Jewish community, and when we came to Krakow, so when I continued my education, let's say in Hebrew school, or then I went to Hebrew gymnasium, or then I went for my mechanical engineering school. Over there, already, Hebrew gymnasium was no problem, or I went for mechanical engineering, then we really have some problem. Otherwise, they did not allow Jewish people sit in the same row like anybody else, have to sit in the back. Now, Poland have the oldest university, Krakow, in Poland, which was founded, I would say, few years, long time. It was not a university in Europe. Jagiellonski University, it was a very famous university. And to get in there was very, very hard. And when a Jewish student must be brilliant, so they still also have to sit in the back left bench, and when they got out, they were beaten by the students. And the other thing, let's say even the school I was going, so you couldn't, when I finished, you couldn't sign because I just engineer in front of the name, only after the name, because otherwise it's not a full title and so forth. So this was the only thing. Of course, when you're in the city, a lot of Jewish people near the university, sometimes it was beaten up.
What happened when war broke out?
When war broke out, I was working part-time in the factory in village guard, helping out, you know, the mechanical department, because this is what I'd like to do. And we didn't realize, all of a sudden, you know, the bombs start falling, and we hear it on the radio, so the war started. Thank God Krakow was not too much affected. We only have few bombs falling with my wife around there where she lived, on the Bahnhof, with the railroad station, all the rest not. Anyhow, start to be a very panicky situation, because they said all the men, this time they were thinking the Germans are gentlemen, the women they wouldn't touch, you know. Of course, the children for sure not. So all the men should go away someplace, okay?
How soon did they occupy your city from the time the war started?
Well, I tell you, Warsaw was defending itself the longest. Krakow, they marched into Krakow 3-4 days after the war broke out.
Can you describe what it was like when they marched in?
Pardon me?
Can you describe what it was like when they
Well,
marched in?
I thank God I was not there, because the next day, so my father tried to rent a bus for the whole family and to go to Romania or right in the second day. So he want to pay X amount of money to there was plenty of the amount to get the bus, and was supposed to leave the next morning. My uncles, my family, close family, and, because you could have about 70 people on a bus or 75. Unfortunately, the bus came in, and somebody else from the neighborhood offered him more money than my father gave. So the other person was very gentle. He said to my father, both you freedmen, you can take your immediate family. You have 10 places here. My father said no. So it was not a nice thing to do. So I and my brother my father had on a small car from the business for 4 people. So I and my brother, we start walking. Not only I, most of the people, to get out of Krakow, they start walking towards a border someplace, not to run away. And I was going to Przemyśl because my brother's wife was in Przemyśl. So it was quite a long trip. While we were walking, the Messerschmitt was to come down and kill people on the German Messerschmitt planes, the small planes, machine gun people as we walk around. They didn't know who Jewish or not, and was still killing them. So it was quite emotional, I would say. We don't know if we're going to be alive or not. And thank God we did arrive in Przemyśl, and my brother's wife was there, and they have a big apartment, so we stayed there. Meantime, my father took the car with a chauffeur, because at this time they didn't learn how to drive, my people. I did learn it. While I was going to the technical school, I learned how to drive. Anyhow, so as he was riding the car, a Polish officer came on a horse, and he said, get out, you there, and to the driver, and he took over the car. And then my father had to rent some horses and a wagon, they pay money, and they came to Przemyśl. So we have a nice family reunion. But the German was following up after us, after the thing was following up, and they was be coming any day to Przemyśl and Poida. So we decided we go to Romania. And my father again ordered some wagon with a few horses, and was going on the way. And then was Rosh Hashanah, and we came to a small town, Żydatrów. And so of course everybody was tired, and my father decided, actually you can travel on Rosh Yom Kippur to save your life. He is Nefesh. Oh, we're so tired, we stay there for the 2 days, we go to shul, we pray, and maybe God had helped me, everything gonna be all right. And God attacked geholfen. On the next day, Rosh Hashanah, the Russian came in. When the Russian came in, so of course we knew they're much better than, even the communists, they're better than the Nazis. So we went to Sefer Torahs and dancing on the street and so forth. And we stayed in Russia, went back to Przemyśl, was a bigger city, because this was a border. Because Hitler was very generous. He gave to Stalin a half of Poland, okay, to keep him quiet. to develop in Przemyśl till 1941 when the Russian-German war.
What did you do when you were there
When I was
in
under,
Przemyśl?
under Russian, well, I was working. I worked in a machine shop as a mechanic and so forth, and they treated me very nice. And my father didn't tell him he had a business, you know. So he worked in a sawmill. He was, because he was expert on wood and so forth, so he was the running the sawmill factory, whatever it is there. He was the manager.
What happened when war came?
When the war came, before the war came, I have a year before, first of all, they want to take me to the army, okay, the Russian. So thank God again, my father, wonderful, he was the best person of all, he never ever raised a hand on me. He never called me. All you have to say, my son, behave yourself, or this not nice, or this not nice. He talked to me, he was patient, and I did it. I respect him. I don't want to upset him. So anyhow, so we came to the doctors before doctors. So I guess my father had some connections, I don't know, money help or God had geholfen and so forth. So he told him, the doctor said I have a heart problem. So I was rejected. Now, in the meantime, the Russian decided that all the people who came, Flüchtlinge, who came from the other side, from the German side, even the Jewish, maybe they spies, because this was, you know, they were brainwashed, the communists. So one day they loaded them on the trains and they took them deep to Russia. Now, when they did it, okay, sorry for interruption. So when they did it, they took all the Jews, but we have not regular passport, we have 11. 11, I mean, we were foreigners, okay? They put them on the train, or we were hiding. My father knew before, we have connections with some Russian officers. They used to come to our home, and they said this was going to be, so we hide someplace in the basement or whatever it is. Or they took my brother with his wife, with my niece, which is now in Israel, and they took a lot of my family and deep to Russia, okay? And when my father found out, we didn't know they took him because they were hiding someplace else. So my mother, of course, she was very, very upset. And my father said to the owner of the house, why didn't you tell me they took my son? He said, well, Vovchu wouldn't want you to get upset. He said, it was your duty to say to me. And it was up to me either to go with my son or to stay here. You were supposed to tell me.
We're coming to the end of the tape now.
Yeah.
And you're just talking about that your father found out that they sent your brother to deep Siberia.
Yeah. Then, a few months later, the war broke out, and the Germans made a blitzkrieg, and before it turned around, they came to Przemyśl. So we knew the Ukrainian people not too friendly to Jewish people, and they, matter of fact, much more anti-Semitic than the Polish people. They're only waiting for the Germans to come in to get even with the Jewish people. So my father went to one Wehrmacht officer because you couldn't go on the train without special permission. And my father spoke very fluent German. He asked him for his family and him to give her permission to go to Krakow because his family, whole family is in Krakow. So he was nice enough, again, got ausgeholfen because it was unusual, and he gave us the permission, and my father, me, my mother, because there's only 3 of us was there, went back to Krakow. My sisters was in Krakow, the rest of the family, uncles and so forth. So I came to Krakow. It was only 1 week, and they need young people to do work. And the Judenrat over there, they had to get 1,000 people, 500 people and something. Each was a certain quota what they have to deliver to the German.
Talking about it was already in the ghetto?
Was a ghetto, yeah, was a ghetto. So they took me to a camp to build barracks. And this was a labor camp. At this time was a labor camp to build barracks.
What was the name of the camp?
Plaszów. Julak Plaszów. And somehow I was okay there because I have a connection. A lot of people from Wieliczka was there, which was there before me. So I got a little bit better condition, and I could get out from there and go by foot to Wieliczka to visit my tantes and so forth for a weekend. So after a while, I knew we need more of a better job. I mean, because what happened, if you don't have important jobs, they were deporting people. People who didn't work, they were deporting. At this time, we didn't know about Auschwitz, or they knew would take them away. You know, this was 1941.
Were you sleeping at the camp?
Well, in the beginning, I was going to ghetto and back and forth under Wehrmacht, SS or Wehrmacht escort. After a while, they told us, so some of the barrack was ready, they tell us you can sleep here while you're building this, would be better. I still have the permit once in a while to go out, and I decided one day it was a factory near us, near in Plaszów, was a carbon factory. It was a big factory before the war, and the Germans make out of this Rüstung. Otherwise, whatever they produce will be for military use. And this was a good good place to work well, because you get Bescheinigung, you work over there, you have R, this being Rüstung, this was very high employment, safe employment and anything else. Because when people work in the ghetto or someplace else and they work, or tomorrow they were shipped out when they decided or they don't like them.
How much time did you actually spend in the ghetto?
Not too much, because I went right away to work. They took me. I was a newcomer, okay? And once I start working in a factory, that I start, Jewish people who work there start walking back and forth to the ghetto Plaszów, ghetto Krakow, because they don't have the facilities we should sleep there. And in a way, I work, look, again, I work machine shop, fixing machines and so forth, and they treat me not bad, because the meisters, the Polish supervisors treat me pretty good. And the engineer even was a Polish engineer, and he was very nice, except we have a manager, he was a Volksdeutsch, and he was horrible. And I have a lot of problem with him because I didn't have money or something to give him. So he took me out of machine shop. He sent somebody else in because the guy have money, and they sent me to a steel mill. Otherwise, there was oven, they would make steel. And it was the most horrible work. They have ovens, and they have to get near the oven and so forth, and take out red iron and so forth. And so I was there about 2 or 3 weeks, then I got sick. So we have a doctor, and he came, a Jewish doctor. She was not Jewish, she was a German doctor, a woman. And she checked me out. He said, "You cannot work there." And give me a Bescheinigung because I have a heart problem. And this time I really did have a heart problem. And so they honored this, and they put me a different job, was to make gas, a gas tank. And again, it was not so easy because it was the oven again. Or at least I didn't have people in front of me. I was the one shift I had. And so long the factory have gas, you put the coals in the oven, and then after a while, in order the gas, when the tank was up, you have to clean the oven, put new coals, and it was a hard job. And this was my job till, no, then I went back to machine shop because it was short of people. They need people to fix machines and so forth.
Where did you sleep when you were working there?
Oh, now, in the beginning, we slept in the ghetto back and forth, and was not, we don't have private rooms. We have like one big house and a community house. We slept all maybe 20 people in one room, 3 full beds and so forth, and we were together. Look, it was nice. And then later on, as the Aussiedlung was coming from ghetto, and they are half of the ghetto was ausgesiedelt, otherwise they took the Jewish people into Belgrade crematorium or Auschwitz or whatever it is, So the director from our factory was afraid that they would take us too. And it happened so he was not a Nazi, so he wanted to protect us. So he took us one day during the Aussiedlung to make an appeal. He came and he took us to his place. In the meantime, he was preparing the barracks. So then we slept in the barracks. There was 150 men, 150 girls. In a way,
when was this?
Yeah.
When was this?
This was between about half of 1942, middle of 1942, when it was a big house, on ghetto. And I was lucky, and I said, God was good to me, and even in bad time like this, because I find my Zurich. I find my wife there and fall in love. And I tell you, you won't believe it, how accidentally I did pay more attention to her because we all were busy and so forth. Or in the evening, we have 1 hour, we can talk to the girls and so forth. And it was a little better facilities. We could take a shower in the factory. And one evening before we go to separate barracks, you couldn't walk then after this. So I saw 2 girls sitting, so of course we're friendly, we say hello. We know each other a little bit or not. and two girls that were talking about religion. And one of the girls, which I know, and she know my family, and they were talking about, look what's going on, and I don't think we have any God. If we have a God, he wouldn't let this happen, what happened to us. And the other girl said, look, we have a God, and God will help us, and unfortunately, the things happen, or we have to have faith, we have to have a minute, and the Rabbi Shalom, and I'm sure you'll be able to survive. So I had this, so I got impressed with a girl coming from a religious home, and we start talking to each other later on, and got a little bit closer, and we fall in love.
What was her name?
Pardon me?
What was her name?
Her name, Felicia Friedman, Felicia Deutscher. And she was very well liked. She was a beautiful girl. She was almost 16 years old at this time, and beautiful, gorgeous hair up to here, and she was very kind, and everybody loved her. I mean, by loving her, I mean be friendly to her because she was so nice to people. And some people need help or share bread or extra thing. She did it with all the other girls.
How long did you stay there?
Well, I stayed there in the Carberback till 1940, September 1944.
Are there any special incidents that happened during that time when you were there?
Yeah. One incident happened. Well, actually, we were the outside commander of the camp was ghetto, what camp, what get had, you know, the concentration camp. And occasionally, higher rank officers, Nazis, came into us. We have to make muster, so forth, and line up. And if you don't like somebody, he took him out, okay? Happened so one day, some young couple, a boy and a girl, which was very friendly, somehow they ran away. When they ran away, they came and the high rank officer, and he said, you, 10 people go, and we shoot them, okay? When this happened, even again, America from God, you won't believe it. One of the girls, she have a beautiful voice, okay? And she started singing something, okay? And the officer walked over to her, oh, you have a nice voice. You know what? If you can sing this certain German song, I forgot the name of the song, my wife will probably remember. I let 10 people live. I'm not joking. She did sing. The people stay alive. I'm sorry I speak low now again. I hope you have the tape on high volume and you can pick up my voice. At the same time, my emotion brings my voice very low. Then the other incident, you asked me incident. The other incident was different officers, 2 Nazi officers came in, and they said, we want to have the best workers in the factory, okay? Happened so I and my friend were good workers in the machine shop, you know, we were quite known, we were capable of fixing a lot of equipment. So the manager said, he was thinking we need some good workers, so he chose us. So he took us at this time, they ran right one horse and a bridge car, whatever you call it, very fancy one. So he told us to sit up there and my friend to ride the horses, you know. And they were sitting in the back with two guns, okay? So I said to my friend, and he never ride a horse, you know. And I said to my friend, as we were riding, it was about 20 minutes, 25 minutes ride from our factory to the main camp, maybe half hour. And we passed by some was water and they were digging something. So I said to him, Steve, you know what? Let's drive in there. We turn the bridge car around. Maybe we have a chance we can jump the two officers while the things turn around. Look, they're going to kill us anyhow because they said, all we will take you to the camp to hang you over there, okay? So I said, might as well, let's try it. He said, no, he was afraid. So I said, let's try it. And I almost took the laces, whatever you call, on one side to the, so the German guy noticed this. He said, put a gun in my back. He said, well, I should shoot you right now. I'm saving you for hanging. Okay, so when you come again, and this be this, okay? As we came in, we check as we came into the camp was an officer, a Wehrmacht officer. He was Austrian. And of course we were shaking and so forth. And we knew, otherwise he give us under his control. The two Germans, Nazis, give us under his supervision now, otherwise to take responsibility. So he said, look, I don't think anything will happen to you guys. You're only going to watch execution of two different people. What be hanged today, this way you can go back to your camp and tell them how we punish somebody who doesn't behave. And this evening, they hang two people, wonderful, honest people. One big thing what they did, one sing a Russian song, and the other one said some minor things what he did, and they felt the whole camp was thousands of people that line up and up plots, and they watched them hang. They took us back to the camp and we have to report what we saw. So this was basically the big incidents during the time. Then when the Germans came losing the war, they knew the Russians coming, so we have to dismantle some of the machinery. And by the dismantle machines, I left the mechanical crew and some helpers, and they need some girls to also. So somehow I said to the Lagerführer, this is my wife, you know, and I hope you're going to live here for the same time. And he left her, you know. And this way, we stay in this camp till the end. This was already second part of 1944. And we went back to the main camp where we get it. And I would say this was the hardest time in my life, or ever, I never forget. Because again, I was new, and then you people to the most dirty work or the most horrible thing to do. So they took me me and a whole crew of them every day to dig out the graves of the killed people and put them on fire, because this way, if the Russian come in or whoever will come in, they cannot say they did anything wrong. Okay. I don't have to tell you, besides physical to dig in the snow and the ice, you know, was cold, besides what kind of job this was and why we did this, that the German came in and to pull out some gold teeth or some things what somehow did the signal rate and whatever it is, and then they put the people on fire. Thank God I had on a job to digging. Okay, this was horrible enough. And I was lucky. I was only 2 weeks there, 2 or 3 weeks. Otherwise I couldn't survive. I wouldn't survive. And they sent me to Flossenburg. Okay, we got to Flossenburg. Didn't have too much room in Flossenburg.
How did you get from Plaszow to Flossenburg?
To Flossenburg by train, like cattle train, you know. And they didn't have too much room, so some of the people sent away. Some of the people, they asked if they have any technical background because they need. So I volunteered, instead of mechanic, and so they took me from there, also by train, to Dresden. And Dresden was a Tankenfabrik in Dresden. And the call was Schachwitz, the name of the city, the little community, and this was Dresden. And they brought maybe other 100 people with me. Some of them, they was from Kaberwerk, and some of them was from different camp. And we worked there quite a long time, till they leveled Dresden when the Allied troops, or the Air Force, 2,000 planes came in and they bombed Dresden. And at this time the factory was burning. Then we have to rebuild the factory. They were thinking we were going to rebuild. One important accident happened. Why I was working before even the Air Force attacked Dresden. I have an accident and one of my toes broke, and I have a Blutvergiftung, that means poisoning, in my leg. And my leg blew up like this, and it was all black and blue. And we didn't have a doctor. The only doctor we have was from Hungary, a dentist. All right, so he was better than nothing. He couldn't do anything. He was trying, if somebody cut himself, he put Band-Aid, or was no, this time was no any antibiotics and so forth. But he somehow have a connection with a German doctor outside the camp who took care, the factory take care of the Germans. So he took me to him. He said, maybe you can help him. So he said, yeah, no problem. We're going to operate. We'll cut his foot because otherwise he's going to die. So he said, might as well take a gun and kill him right now. So he said, well, and he asked him, please save this man. He's a very friend of mine, is very important, good friend. So he put a draining tampon in my foot to drain the poison out. And the poison, little by little, was coming out. And occasionally I used to go to him and he checked it and so forth. So in a way, this saved my life. And the other continuation on the same subject, when they bombed the factory, I knew it was only one stairway to go down from the factory. When everybody was a few hundred people go the stairway, and I couldn't walk. So I and a friend of mine decided so long was a glass roof there, also because they kept us on the top there and was only glass. The place like attic or something. And the glass broke, so I said to him, look, it was third or fourth floor. I said, we're going to die if we go down. I'm going to go on the roof and go try to go down. So he said, I'm crazy. So anyhow, we walked out and what some gutters and went down slow into the field. And we lay there overnight till the airfield went over, went back to the factory. Some people ran away, maybe a dozen. They brought them 2 days later and they shot them.
We're coming to the end of the tape now.
Yeah.
In 1998, and you're talking about when the factory had burnt down and you left, when the Allies were bombing.
Yeah, so after this, they tell us to help to rebuild the factory. In the meantime, typhus broke out, and I was very, very sick on typhus. And the temperature must be 105, and was no medication. All we can do drink, and the bread was given to us, a small piece of bread.
Where were you at this time?
And Shafis, in the camp. And other boys would take my bread. I didn't care. I couldn't eat anyhow. But this doctor was very good to me. Not it can help too much. He came to me occasionally, talked to me. And I knew it's very bad because people were dying like flies. I have a good friend of mine next door, next bed. He said, Ellie, anyhow, doesn't make sense to live. We're going to die anyhow. I said, Monique, we're not going to die. The war come to the end, and we got help. We have to live because we have to tell the people what was going on. Just hang on, hang on. Unfortunately, he gave up and he died. Or I somehow, again, I said, God create miracles. Some people don't believe. I do believe. And somehow I survived. Of course, when I woke up, I was hungry like I could eat up a horse. Not too much there to eat. Somehow I managed. In the meantime, what happened, the doctor got sick. The doctor who took care of me. So I decided I'm going to take care of him, and I sit with him day and night. But this time, people don't go to work too much because it was a very chaotic situation. They don't know if they're going to rebuild or not. So many of us have free time, not because we walk out from the camp. And people many times was beaten and so forth, or at least wouldn't have to go get up in the morning. So I spent with him a lot of time.
Were there only Jewish prisoners there?
It was only Jewish prisoners, yeah. And there was no women, only men. And I spent with him a lot of time, especially at night, so we talk. Then one night, he said to me, Ellie, I think now is Pesach, because it was April. And he knew more than I, because we were in camp from 1940-41. He just came in 1944. He's from Hungary, so they just took him to camp. 1944, most of them they took to Auschwitz, and they gassed him. And some of the people who think they're going to work, so he came fully equipped with nice clothes and shoes and other things. So he took a sitter with himself, okay? I didn't see a sitter from 1930, no, it's 1941 we came in to my camp. And be honest with you, whenever of occasion to pray, we pray by heart, we believe God would help us to survive. Or actually, Mom is praying, we wouldn't have time for us, we have no occasion for us, and all we were thinking about surviving, God should help us. Each one of us pray, I'm talking about myself, in my heart, okay? So he said to me, you know what, I think we should pray. I said, Doctor, I don't have a book, okay? And believe me, after my typhus, as I mentioned before, I forgot even who I am, and I forgot everything. Little by little, my memory was coming back, because before, I knew a lot of prayers by heart, or I learned, I study. And he said, no, I have a little Siddur. So he said, go to my locker, on top shelf is a Siddur. So I took a Siddur, and he told me, you pray because I have no koyach. So I pray was, of course, we talk about Pesach, about the Haggadah, and I pray Maariv and some services. And then I said, tell him, I mean, God should help you. You should refuse alignment. You should survive. And he thanked me. He said, Ali, I don't think I'm going to live. At this time, they were talking about the death march. You know, the few days, because the fact that they give up, they're going to the burn. So do me a favor, if I die, I have few things would help you to survive. You help me in the last minute, especially now with the prayers, and God would listen to us, and He's going to survive. Because somebody have to tell the story, the world, what happened. And he said, I have a pair of shoes, was leather shoes, was like, I can go even a mountain. The shoes was heavy sole. And I have some vitamins, because this time was no bread anymore, you know, they hardly feed us. And take whatever's up there, and it would help you. And this, again, I say, is a miracle from Rabbi Shalom, because I did pray. And I pray for the whole heart, for him and for myself, and whoever is still alive, or Jewish people, should God help us and listen to our prayers. You help us once in Mitzrayim, to get out of Mitzrayim, help us again. And a miracle happened. We went for the death march by foot von Theresienstadt, Augsburg, no, I'm sorry, von Dresden. Yeah, a little emotional now. From Dresden to the Flossenburg, they didn't want us. They sent us to different camp. They didn't want us because they were overfilled. Finally, they took us to Theresienstadt. In the meantime, people was blood on the street, and they were walking, because they couldn't walk. They shoot them. So from 850 people and 145, only 327 survived. And we came to Theresienstadt.
When did you arrive there?
And Theresienstadt, I think, we arrived 1945, beginning April, because middle of April, because the beginning of April, I still was in Schachwitz where we prayed. I think 2 weeks later, we were in Theresienstadt.
What was it like there?
Pardon me?
What was it like in Theresienstadt?
Well, Theresienstadt was actually a showcase lager. In the front, everything was music and beautiful, and people don't work and so forth. On the back, which we didn't show to the Red Cross, Swiss Red Cross, was unfortunately concentration camp, and there were people get killed and so forth. This was the end of the war. So things were different. First of all, the Czech people are wonderful people. As we were walking, we came to Czechoslovakia. They helped us to survive by throwing bread on us. The Nazis didn't like it either. But on the end, they knew it's the end of the war. It was the end of April, second part of April. So some of them overlook, okay? And at this time, when you get a piece of bread, they help you in water, okay, and I have the vitamins, and give you a lift. So we got there to Theresienstadt, and they were treating us a little bit better, more decent. I mean, whoever was in charge of us. And most of them us was sick because I was still recuperating from my typhoid. I was weighing 48 pounds, or maybe 49 pounds, okay? And I hardly could walk. And we were there till May 8th. May 8th, again, God was geholfen, the war ended. May 8th, the Russian came into Theresienstadt and liberated us. When we saw this, so we were in seventh heaven. And from there, they took me right away, whoever was sick, especially I was very sick, to hospital. And Leitmeritz was near Theresienstadt, was an officer hospital, very well equipped by the German officers. And I was there, and the German doctors and nurses really took care of me till I got better.
Then where did you go?
Well, now the happy story starts. Before we part with my wife, my girlfriend, of my future Civic, I call it, because the angel brought her to us, to me, okay, to get us together. And I believe the angel was Eliyahu, because my name is Eliyahu Tzvi. So we decided if we live through, we're going to meet in Krakow. And I knew where she lived, she know where I live. And after the war, whoever survived will meet in Krakow. And of course, we're looking forward to get married. So unfortunately, I was sick, and I couldn't go to Krakow. I have a lot of friends of mine from in Theresienstadt, when they know me, they did went to Krakow back to see if any family left. It was not easy to get to the border and to go by train or go by foot or whatever it is. So they came to Krakow and they saw everybody has put his name on in Judenrat at this time. And each one was looking for a different person. So Felicia was there, and she would have a few girls. She came also walking from Germany concentration camp when she was liberated. She was liberated 3 days before I, May 2nd or May 3rd, okay? Again, a miracle. Talking about miracles, Felicia probably didn't want to tell you because it was quite emotional. When she was in Auschwitz, she was twice lined up to go to gas. And once, the first time, she was 4/5 from the getting in, was shortage of gas, and they sent her back to the barracks. A few weeks later, they decided they didn't finish the job. They line up all the, from this particular barrack together, they sent them there. And they, as they line up, all of a sudden, an order came back, go back to the barracks, because they have the gypsies came in, and they have seniority over the Jewish people. So I'm sorry to hear it, that they went, or at least I lucky I have my wife. Again, got out geholfen was a miracle, and she stayed alive. On her birthday, with the January 18, they took her out from Auschwitz for her death march, January 18. So again, on her birthday, she left Auschwitz. So anyhow, coming back to the story, our reunion, they found out, she found out I'm alive. She decided to come to me. So it was not very difficult. She and a couple of friends, she went by train, a hike and so forth, and she makes sure the Polacks don't know she's Jewish, and the Russian doesn't have to know she's so beautiful, because they like beautiful girls. So thank God she survived, and she came to Theresienstadt. So she came to Theresienstadt, was the camp, was all the typhus at this time. And he asked for me, so I told her, oh, Ellie is a big shot now. He's in charge of all the food in the hospital, and every night he'd bring up can of food and all different things, because then this time they didn't get any food. So in the meantime, when I feel better, the doctors somehow liked me, and they put me in charge of giving out food for the patient. So at night, I took a bike. I used to go to the camp and give my friends some food. So she came over to me, to the hospital, and she asked for me. And so the nurses liked me. I was giving some chocolate to people and some other goodies, because this hospital was very well equipped. And so all of a sudden I came and I see her. So you can imagine what kind of happy reunion this was. Then I talked to the doctor, and I know she had no place to stay and to sleep. The doctor, if you need a nurse helper, please let her work here. So he let her stay. See, my first thing of water, l'chaim, to life, to all of us, to Am Yisrael Chai. Thank God we're sitting here. After all these years, I never have the strength to talk about, I even didn't talk about the details to my children. And then this is only a fraction of the 4 years. What I spoke today, I didn't write no place down, and if I don't remember many things, dates or years, because I don't remember. This 4 years was like a 40 years coming out for the Jews from Sinai. And thank God, like they say, and the Haggadah say, "B'kol dor v'dor umet aleinu l'chalaseinu v'hakodesh baruch hu matzilenu b'yudam." And each generation, some Hitler or somebody else come to wipe out all the Jewish people. And of course, unfortunately, many millions die on the end. God help us, and this is how we survive.
Where did you go from Theresienstadt?
Next, I'm going to put some vodka on there. From Theresienstadt, we went Czechoslovakia a little bit, and we met friends, and the friends were Czech Partisano, okay? They have the Uzi gun, walking around, we were young, so we got together, mingled, Jewish, not Jewish, you know, and we have parties, you know, to celebrate our life. He went ahead because they want to send us back to Poland, and he swears I'm Czech-born person, because nobody have papers for Felicia too. So they got me papers. And we stayed together more or less, all the Jewish people there. And they start shipping back many people to Poland. I wouldn't want to go to Poland. So the Bricha from Israel came from Palestine, and they offered us to take to Palestine Aliyah Beit. So we all jumped to it. We have nothing. To Palestine to go was a big thing. And they put us on a train, maybe 1,000 people or 1,500, and I want you to know one experience I have. When we put us on a train, a friend of mine, his name was Mirko, the Czech people person. He said, "Eli, you cannot leave. You're going to leave me. I love you. You're like my brother. We're so good friends." And he said to me, "You cannot leave. If you want, I kill you with a machine gun or whatever it is." I know he wouldn't do it. I said, "Look, Mirko, if the Russian wouldn't be here, because at this time I was there, I would stay here. You know, with the communists, you hate the communists, I hate the communists. Maybe I can get out of here. Maybe I bring you down where I am. I will write to you. Maybe you come down." So he gave me some money yet, and some food, because we didn't get too much food for the train. We traveled to Austria, and in Austria we met some American soldiers, and they were very good to us. They gave us food, they gave us chocolate, and we continued traveling. It was on an overnight stop. Now, we slept on the train, of course, and it was not the most comfortable place. Nobody was shooting us, so it was Havarim Kol Yisrael, we're all friends, was in the same situation. One helps the other one. We came to Italy. When we arrived in Italy, somehow they changed the guard. They sent back the other soldiers and this officer didn't know the Bricha connection. He said, "Davai nazad, you have to ship the whole plane back." So they were lucky. They sent us not to Czechoslovakia. They sent us to Germany, and this was the first D camp, Landsberg am Lech, DP camp. This was Hitler sit in jail. He wrote the famous book, Mein Kampf. And then in Landsberg am Lech we came in. After a while we got married, me and my wife, and we have a beautiful wedding. The whole camp came to our wedding. I'm joking. Everybody was invited, and we have some food. We went to German villages. We got some food. We got some flour, and we're baking and so forth. I got a bottle of beer, and we're celebrating. And the main thing, we have a rabbi. The rabbi came from Hungary. Was Orthodox rabbi. Somehow he survived with a beard, and we have a chuppah outside. And 40 couples got married this night. And when we got married, we need some clothes. I mean, we didn't go around naked, or we have some old baggy clothes. A friend of mine was lucky somehow. He had some suit, and his wife have a dress. So we borrowed a suit and dress, and he was my best man. And we stayed in Theresienstadt a long time, till 1948.
What did you do when you were at the DP camp?
When in Theresienstadt? In Theresienstadt.
After Theresienstadt.
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Landsberg am Lech. I'm sorry. Landsberg am Lech, I worked in an art school. I'll teach people mechanical drawings, because this was my background. And so this, we have some extra food. And cigaretten. And cigaretten was like gold. You could trade in different things. And we were young, we have parties, we got together, every evening, singing, dancing, go to a movie. And we did travel, even we were poor, we have no money. We did travel, went to Nuremberg, went to Berchtesgaden. It was winter. And we went to Betty's garden, and garbage patch, this high mountains like over here. So a guy came in, and a month like today, and he had a convertible. And winter was cold, okay, in January. And he said, Felicia and Ellie, you like to go for a nice ride? We'll go to the mountains. So we went. We were young and we survived. And we applied for America because we knew we want to go out of Germany. And it took a few years before they called us, because it was on the list. At this time, Truman said 100,000 Jewish people from DP camps or survivors can come into America. Unfortunately, from the 100,000, 50,000 maybe was Nazis, or I don't have to tell you, you know the story more than I, okay? They didn't care so long they were not communists. And they asked me, they told me in why, Felicia, when I went to the American embassy, I don't belong to any party or Nazi party, and I have to be perfect health and all this thing. So it was a long procedure. And I have to have an affidavit. So I have a cousin here, and his name was Rabbi Dr. Levine, Isaac Levine. He was quite known here in the community. He was president of Agudas Yisrael at this time, and he was, at this time was not the United Nations. He was quite active, he had connections. And he approached somebody, a rich manufacturer, chocolate manufacturer, Barton's Candy, Stephen Klein. He'll sponsor some people from a DP camp. And he gave me a dozen, maybe a couple dozen certificates, you know. He could become millions of dollars because people want to give him a lot of money. He never took a penny. And he was giving out the certificate, and he found I'm alive. So we got, and the certificate is, every day with, when I came to America, the man said he would support us and so forth. And this is how we came in 1948 to the United States. We have $1 in the pocket.
We're coming to the end of the tape now.
Yeah.